If you ask somebody in Los Angeles what a street is, chances are they'll tell you it's, a place for cars. We were one of the first cities to fully embrace the automobile as a way of life, and because of that, the last century of planning in Los Angeles has more or less gone towards making Los Angeles a better place to drive. What most people don't remember is that 100 years ago, before cars were really a thing, our streets were made for people. There was no such thing as like a sidewalk. The whole street was the sidewalk. If you wanted to run outside and kick around a soccer ball, you did that in the streets. That's what that was there for. They created this sort of smear campaign to get people out of the streets so that cars could drive. They labeled pedestrians as what they called Jays. And a Jay was just sort of, a stupid person. Nobody wanted to be labeled a Jay, and so they got out of the streets. And if you were in the streets, they called you a jaywalker. That's where that term comes from. We created sidewalks, and people sort of started to huddle around the edges of streets. All of the space that used to be for people was lost. In the process, in getting rid of all of that space, we lost the space for humanity. I'm not content to accept that this is just the way things are going to be from here on out. There has to be a better way. I want to change people's way of thinking from thinking about streets as a corridor that you use to get from A to B, and instead remembering that as you're going from A to B, you're going through hundreds and hundreds of people's homes. Every street is someone's home. And I think a lot of the time, even the people that live on those streets can forget that. They come home from wherever they work and they just go inside because, the street isn't a pleasant place to be. Why would you hang out there? Well, it turns out in Portland in the 90s, there was somebody else who was feeling the same way about Portland. What he ended up doing was he got a bunch of his neighbors together and he got like a permit to have a parade or something so he could block off the streets, and they shut the streets down and they all went out and they painted a huge mural in the middle of the street. And the idea was just to bring the neighbors together and sort of celebrate the fact that they own that space just as much as the cars driving through it do. What ended up happening though in the days that followed was they noticed that drivers coming through the area were a bit more cautious. They were more respectful because they felt like they were going through someone's home. It wasn't just another street. They were going through someone else's space. And they were aware that there might be kids playing in the area, or that people might be standing out on the corner having a conversation. The amount of time that people spent lingering on the sides of the streets, something that they would never have done before, shot up because people felt like they weren't just standing on the side of the street, they were standing in their home. It went from being just a regular old intersection to a place, a real place, a destination. They did a follow-up survey with the people that lived in the area, and 85% of the people who responded said that they noticed an increase in safety and communication, a decrease in crime, and a decrease in traffic speed, all for the price of a little bit of paint and a Saturday. The technique is called intersection repair, and I want LA2050 to help me bring it to Los Angeles. There are tons of intersections throughout the city that would be perfect for intersection repair. There are squares and plazas all throughout Los Angeles that are dedicated to special people, police officers, people who have done great things for their communities, but the squares and plazas are just intersections for cars. They're places that people wouldn't want to be in, and I think that that's kind of insulting to the people that they're named after. If something was named after me, I would want people to want to be there. Making a city a better place to play isn't always about building new infrastructure or making new rules. A lot of the time it's just about changing the way that we look at the things we already have, and that's what this project is all about.